There's a moment in the middle of the night when something shifts, not in the world around you, but inside you. A moment when everything you've been running from, everything you've been ignoring, everything you've been too tired to face during the day, it all becomes impossible to avoid. And that moment isn't an accident. That moment is an invitation. You know the feeling. You wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning and you can't go back to sleep. Your eyes open in the darkness. The house is silent. Everyone else is dreaming. Everyone else is resting. But you're awake. And something inside you knows that this isn't ordinary restlessness. This is different. This is deliberate. This is something calling to you. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he said something that should shake you awake even more than any alarm clock ever could. He said that in the last third of the night, Allah descends to the lowest heaven and asks, is there anyone who calls upon me that I may answer them? Is there anyone who asks of me that I may give to them? Is there anyone seeking forgiveness that I may forgive them? Think about that for a moment. Think about what that means. While you're lying there in the dark, thinking you're alone, thinking you're just experiencing insomnia, thinking about scrolling through your phone or counting sheep, the King of all kings, the creator of all creation, is literally asking if you want to speak to him. He's waiting, he's listening, he's not angry, he's not distant, he's there, closer than you can possibly imagine, asking you to reach out to him. But here's what nobody talks about. There's a loneliness to the night that the day never touches. When you wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning, there's something profoundly isolating about it. The world is asleep, your family is sleeping, your friends are sleeping. Your problems don't sleep, but everyone else does. And you're there, alone with your thoughts, alone with your fears, alone with the weight of everything you carry. And that loneliness, that isolation, it can feel like the most painful thing in the world. But what if I told you that loneliness has a purpose? What if the very thing that feels like abandonment is actually an invitation into the most intimate conversation you could ever have? What if waking up at night isn't a curse, but a mercy wrapped in darkness? Think about your life right now. Think about the last few months. You've been busy, haven't you? Running from place to place, checking your phone, dealing with problems, trying to keep everything together. And in all of that, when was the last time you truly stopped? When was the last time you sat in complete silence and felt your heart? When was the last time you were alone with your own soul, without distractions, without noise, without the constant pull of the world demanding your attention? The night is where that happens. The night is where you meet yourself. And more importantly, the night is where you meet Allah. There's a difference between people who sleep through the night and people who are awakened by the night. Some people, they sleep like stones. They hit their heads on the pillow and they're gone until morning. And there's nothing wrong with that. Rest is important. The body needs sleep. But there are other people, and you might be one of them, who experience the night differently. You wake up, your heart stirs, your mind activates, and you can't simply close your eyes and go back to unconsciousness. The scholars have explained something beautiful about this. They say that those who are woken up in the night are being called. Allah is calling to them. It's not random. It's not meaningless. It's a sign. It's a whisper in the darkness that says, I haven't forgotten about you. You haven't fallen so far that I've abandoned you. Get up, talk to me, pour out your heart. Let me ease this burden you're carrying. And the people who wake up, the ones who recognize that call, they're the seekers. They're the ones who understand that there's something more important than sleep, more important than comfort, more important than staying wrapped up in the illusion of safety that your bed provides. These are the people who say yes to that invitation. These are the people who get up, even though their eyes are heavy, even though their body is tired, even though every part of them wants to just lie there and pretend they didn't hear anything. But they get up anyway because they understand something that most people never learn. They understand that the night has a different texture than the day. The night is softer. The night is quieter. The night is where the barriers between you and Allah become thinner. During the day, we're protected by noise and activity and distraction. We can maintain our defenses. We can keep our walls up. But at night, when everything is still, those walls come down. And your heart becomes exposed. Your real self emerges. The version of you that you hide from everyone else during daylight hours, that version appears in the darkness. And that's where transformation begins. The softening of the heart, this is something the scholars talk about constantly. They say that the heart hardens over time. Life hardens it. Disappointment hardens it. Broken promises harden it. Unmet expectations harden it. The accumulation of hurt, the weight of sin, the burden of carrying things you were never meant to carry, all of it hardens the heart until you almost can't feel anymore. You become numb. You become distant from your own soul. You become a ghost in your own life. But then the night comes, and in the silence, in the darkness, something begins to crack. Your defenses weaken. Your pride softens. The things that seemed so important yesterday start to fade. The arguments that felt justified start to look hollow. The justifications you've been making for your own choices start to sound like excuses. And your heart, that hardened, protected, defended heart, it begins to feel again. And feeling, truly feeling, is the beginning of everything changing. There's a mercy in waking up in the middle of the night that you'll never understand until you experience it. Because waking up means you're not lost yet. Waking up means you're still aware. Waking up means some part of you hasn't completely surrendered to sleep, to comfort, to forgetting. Some part of you is still alive. Some part of you is still listening. And that part, that awakened part, that's the part of you that can still come home to Allah. The people around you, the ones still sleeping, they don't understand this yet. Maybe they will someday. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll live their entire lives as sleepers, moving through existence without ever truly waking up to what's real. But you, if you're hearing this, if this message is resonating with something deep inside you, then you're different. You're not just a sleeper. You're someone who has been called awake. And that changes everything. The loneliness you feel when you wake up at night, the isolation, the feeling of being separated from the world, that's not a punishment. That's a gift. That's privacy with your Lord. That's a moment where nobody can see you, nobody can judge you, nobody can interrupt you. It's just you and Allah. And in that moment, if you turn to Him, if you raise your hands and pour out everything inside you, something happens that never happens in the daylight. Your dua carries a weight that it doesn't carry at noon. Your tears mean something different. Your words penetrate deeper. Because in the night, you're finally honest. You're finally real. You're finally yourself. But waking up is only the beginning. Because what you do in those moments, the choices you make when your eyes open at 2 or 3 in the morning, the words you speak to Allah in that darkness, that's where everything changes. That's where the real story begins. When the last third of the night comes, when you've already given Allah the first part of your night, when you're so tired that your body is begging you to just sleep, that's when something sacred happens. That's when Allah's mercy becomes tangible. That's when your dua becomes unstoppable. The Prophet, peace be upon him, he didn't just tell us about the last third of the night as a piece of information. He lived it. He embodied it. While his wives were sleeping, while his companions were sleeping, while the entire city of Medina was deep in sleep, he would be standing. He would be calling out to Allah. He would be pouring out his heart in a way that nobody could do during the day. And he told us that this was the time, this was the specific time when Allah listens most intently. This was when the barriers fall away completely. This was when a single sincere dua can shift the trajectory of your entire life. This wasn't metaphorical. This wasn't just encouragement. This was a direct statement about how the universe works, about the mechanics of divine mercy, about the exact moment when your connection to Allah becomes strongest. Think about what? This makes sense. Think about the science of it, the spirituality of it, the wisdom in it. By the last third of the night, you've already sacrificed sleep for hours, you've already proven to yourself and to Allah that you're serious. You've already shown that you're willing to give up comfort, willing to give up rest, willing to put Him above your own needs. And when Allah sees that, when He witnesses that commitment, that sincere turning toward Him, He doesn't turn away. He turns toward you. He draws closer. He becomes attentive in a way that He isn't at other times. This is why so many people report that their dua is answered immediately after Tahajjud. This isn't coincidence. This isn't luck. This is the promise of Allah being fulfilled. This is the mechanism of divine mercy working exactly as it was designed to work. But here's what most people don't understand about dua. It's not just about asking for things. Yes, you ask Allah for your needs, for your desires, for your family, for your health, for your safety, for your success. But the deepest du'as, the most powerful du'as, the ones that actually transform you, they're not about getting something. They're about losing something. They're about losing the person you were. They're about dying to yourself so that you can be reborn into something better. And the last third of the night, this is where that death and rebirth happen. When you stand there exhausted, your body aching for sleep, your mind foggy, everything in you crying out for just 5 more minutes of rest, and you choose to stay awake, you choose to stand and talk to Allah, something shifts. The part of you that's driven by ego, that's driven by the need to appear strong, that's driven by the desire for people to see you a certain way, that part gets tired. That part falls away. And what's left is truth. What's left is vulnerability. What's left is you, raw and real and unprotected. And that's when Allah's mercy flows. That's when forgiveness becomes possible. Because Allah doesn't forgive the version of you that you pretend to be during the day. Allah forgives the real you. The you that stands in the darkness, alone, with nowhere left to run and nowhere left to hide. The silent tears that fall during Tahajjud, they carry a weight that loud sobbing during the day never carries. Because these tears aren't for show. There's no audience. There's no performance. It's just you and your Lord and the overwhelming realization of how far you've come from Him. It's the moment when you finally understand the gap between who you wanted to be and who you actually became. It's the moment when you finally get honest about your own condition. And in that honesty, forgiveness becomes real. Not the forgiveness you convince yourself of during the day, the kind you grant yourself and then go back to your old ways, but real forgiveness, the kind that comes from deep inside you, from the place where you've finally admitted everything, where you've finally stopped making excuses, where you finally accepted yourself as you actually are, with all your failures and all your broken promises to yourself and to Allah. This is where life transformation begins. Not in a group setting, not with motivational speakers, not with strategies and plans and self-help books, but here in the darkness, alone with your own soul and the presence of your Lord. This is where you change. This is where the real work happens. After Tahajjud, the world looks different. The people around you, they'll wonder what happened. They'll notice something shifted. There's a different energy in your presence. There's a different intention in your actions. Because something actually did shift. You didn't just feel motivated for a day. You experienced something real. You experienced Allah's presence. You experienced His listening. You experienced His mercy. And that experience doesn't fade just because the sun comes up. This is why so many people who start Tahajjud find that their entire life changes. It's not just about the dua. It's not just about asking Allah for things. It's about the transformation that happens to the person who gets up, who sacrifices, who submits in the darkness. That person becomes different. They become lighter. They become clearer. They become closer to who they were always meant to be. And if you're on day 3, if you've been consistent for 3 nights already, you're at a critical point. Because this is where most people give up. This is where the excitement of the first night wears off. This is where the willpower from the second night starts to fade. This is where your body is screaming at you, where your bed has never felt more comfortable, where the voice inside you is saying that you can start again tomorrow, that you don't have to do this tonight. But day 3 is not the day to give up. Day 3 is the day when your dua is starting to penetrate. Day 3 is when Allah's response to your sincere intention is starting to manifest. Day 3 is when the habit is starting to form. Day 3 is when you're finally being tested to see if you're serious. Because anybody can do something for one night. Anybody can push through for 2 nights. But day 3 is where you show yourself what you're actually made of. Day 3 is where you discover if you're the kind of person who starts things and finishes them, or if you're the kind of person who starts things and gives up when it gets hard. And the people who push through day 3, they become different people. They become the kind of people who keep their promises. They become the kind of people who follow through. They become the kind of people who don't just talk about wanting to be closer to Allah, but who actually do the work. And that kind of person, that's the kind of person whose life changes. That's the kind of person whose duas get answered. That's the kind of person who becomes someone else entirely. Think about your life after Ramadan. Think about how you felt during those blessed nights when you were standing in Taraweeh, when your heart was soft, when you were aware of Allah's presence every moment. You probably felt transformed, didn't you? You felt like you would never go back. You felt like you were finally home. But then Ramadan ended. The Taraweeh stopped, the community dispersed, and slowly, gradually, you slipped back into your old patterns. This is not a judgment. This is just how we are as human beings. We forget. The Quran describes this. It says that people return to their old ways like a dog returning to its vomit. It's not because we're bad people. It's because we're creatures of habit. It's because the world is powerful. It's because we need constant reminders. But Tahajjud, this is different. Tahajjud is not seasonal. Tahajjud is not dependent on whether it's Ramadan. Tahajjud is not something that stops just because you don't have a community supporting you. Tahajjud is you and Allah every single night, every single day, throughout the entire year. And that consistency, that's what actually transforms you. Because transformation isn't something that happens once and then you're done. Transformation is ongoing. It's a constant process of dying and being reborn. It's a constant practice of reconnecting to your purpose. It's a constant reminder of who you're trying to become. And when you stand in Tahajjud, when you do this night after night, week after week, month after month, the person you become is not the same person who started. You're refined, you're purified. Eat closer to Allah in a way that feels tangible. Your duas don't feel hollow anymore. They don't feel like you're just repeating words. They feel like you're truly speaking to your Lord. Your heart feels soft. Your intentions feel clear. Your purpose feels obvious. And all of that happens because you've given yourself over to this practice, because you've sacrificed for it, because you've showed up when it was hard, because you've been consistent even when nobody was watching. This is the secret that most people never discover. They think that close connection with Allah requires grand gestures or dramatic moments, but it doesn't. It requires consistency. It requires showing up. It requires doing the hard thing when the hard thing is what's required. It requires tahajjud on day 3 when every part of you wants to sleep. And when you do this, when you become the kind of person who does this, forgiveness becomes available to you in a way that it wasn't before. Because Allah has told us that He forgives those who turn to Him sincerely. But sincerity requires sacrifice. Sincerity requires you actually caring enough to lose sleep over. And when you sacrifice your sleep, when you stand there exhausted and broken and still turning to Him, that's when forgiveness becomes real. That's when you're actually forgiven. Not just told that you're forgiven, but genuinely cleansed of your mistakes, your failures, your broken promises. Life begins again from that point. Not the fake new beginning that you announce on social media, but the real one. The one that happens in your heart. The one that changes how you treat people. The one that changes what you care about. the one that changes who you're trying to become. And that new life, that rebuilt life, that life that's closer to Allah, that's the life that's actually worth living. Your tears in the darkness, they matter. Your woo, whisper duas that nobody else hears, they matter. Your exhaustion, your struggle, your determination to stay awake when everything in you is begging for sleep, all of that matters. Because Allah sees it, Allah witnesses it, and Allah honors it with His mercy. So don't skip day 3. Don't give up when the excitement wears off. Don't let comfort pull you back down into sleep. Because what awaits you on the other side of day 3, what awaits you when you push through the hardest part, when you become the person who doesn't give up even when it's hardest, that person is closer to Allah than they've ever been. That person has received something that money can't buy and success can't provide. That person has tasted divine mercy. And once you taste that, once you feel that, you'll never be the same. Your du'as will be answered. Your heart will be transformed. Your life will change, not because you asked for it dramatically or because you performed some magic ritual, but because you showed up, you were consistent, you sacrificed. You turned to Allah with your whole heart on the nights when turning to Him required everything you had. And Allah, He doesn't turn away from sincere hearts. He doesn't forget the person who gets up at 3 in the morning when everyone else is sleeping. He draws closer to them. He listens more intently. He opens doors that were previously closed. He removes obstacles that seemed immovable. He grants what cannot be granted in any other way. So tonight and tomorrow night and the night after that, get up. Even when your body is heavy. Even when your eyes are tired. Even when your bed is calling to you. Get up and stand before your Lord. Pour out your heart. Say the words that you've been afraid to say. Ask for the things you've been afraid to ask for. Cry if you need to. Be broken if that's what needs to happen. Be real. Be true. Be yourself. Because in that darkness, in that loneliness, in that exhaustion, you're not actually alone. You're standing before the King of all kings. And He's listening. He's waiting. He's merciful. He's ready to forgive. He's ready to transform you. He's ready to give you the life that you've always wanted. Not the shallow one that the world promises, but the deep one, the real one. The one that lasts beyond this life and extends into eternity. Oh Allah, we ask you for the strength to get up in the last third of the night. We ask you for the sincerity to stand before you with our whole hearts. We ask you for the consistency to keep showing up night after night, even when it's hard. We ask you to soften our hearts so that we can truly feel your presence. We ask you to forgive us for the times we've turned away from you. We ask you to accept from us this struggle, this sacrifice, this sincere turning toward you. And we ask you to transform us, to remake us, to bring us closer to who you've created us to be. Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, we are your servants and we are asking, oh Allah, accept from us